I'm doing the scripture reading today. Colossians 3:23. Work willingly at whatever you do, as though you were working for the Lord rather than for people.
Okay, please bow your heads with me.
Yeah, dear God, thank you for another day. I want to especially thank you for the privilege of being able to be a part of this class and for the teachers and parents that have made it possible for us to make it to this point. We are grateful for the opportunities this school has given us and for the privilege of an Adventist education. I pray that we will continue to draw closer to you and help others see your love. Amen.
Dear faculty and staff, as a class, we wanted to give one last thank you for everything that you have done for us. Even though we're a bunch of
numbskulls
and hooligans, we wanted to appreciate you coming every day, even when we test your patience.
You have been incredible role models for us, and we admire all of the time and attention that you have dedicated to us. We cherish your understanding and for consistently being willing to help and guide us. Thank you for always pushing us to do our best and grow academically, socially, and spiritually.
Being a teacher is a big-time job, and we wouldn't want to spend it with anyone else. Thank you.
Dear parents, thank you.
Thank you for bandaging our boo-boos.
Some of them emotional ones.
Thank you for getting us out of the house on time.
Sometimes.
For helping us manage homework.
And praying that someday we'll manage it ourselves.
Thank you for staying home with us when we were sick.
Or when we just needed a moment.
Thank you for teaching us to be kind people.
For teaching us that all that matters is what's on the inside and not on the outside.
Thank you for driving us to all the places.
And praying for us when we started driving ourselves.
For letting us do all these extra things which would keep us out late. Thank you for passing on the family recipes, the family secrets.
And maybe some of the family business.
It only took us about 18 years to realize how much time you put into our lives.
From the good education to always seeing the best in us.
No matter how much we would push you guys away and try to get more
undeserved
freedom.
At the end of the day, you were always there with your arms open, ready to listen to us.
These flowers are just a small way for us to show you how much we love and appreciate you.
You have shown us long-lasting and never-ending true love can only come from Jesus.
Thank you, and we love you always.
When you hear your name, grab your flowers. Dylan Acker.
Jaden Aguilera.
Ali Astorga.
Ben Busby.
Jordan Butcher. Clarissa Carlin. Connor Castleman. Seth Christensen. Naomi Cueto. Bella Griffin. Ashton Harden.
Alex Irvine.
Cassie Irvine.
Sierra Jackson.
Tanisha Jenkins.
Mason Kirby.
Juan Lopez.
Travis Lyford.
Finn Mahurin.
Brent Mitchell. Izzy Narvaez.
Owen Ootman.
Reagan Peterson.
Annie Pierce.
Stephen Pierce.
Cairo Pilgrim.
Esmeralda Pope. McKenna Puckett. Paula Ruiz Velandia. Emma Scholl. Cooper Schroeder. Rachel Smith. Andrew Saltero. Jasmine Spetz. Micaiah Stepper. Nick Wagner. And Haley Werner.
And we forgot Mackenzie Raymond.
From singing Spanish songs at the top of his lungs to confessing that she is the biggest bird, There have been two essential figures, both for WWVA and for our class.
They are our class sponsors, Mr. Schaefer and Mrs. Tolke. It is clear that without these incredible individuals, our class
And our grades.
would not be the same.
Mr. Schaefer has been contributing to WWVA for 36 years, and we have been so blessed to spend a small fraction of those years with him.
He has instilled in us the desire to learn and be curious, and continues to work extra hard to ensure we achieve our best.
He has taught us to value knowledge and to share God's love through connection with others.
Mrs. Tolke has only been with us 2 years, but we know that she has always been a WWVA Knight at heart. Her kindness and genuine persona have brightened our high school experience.
All of us students have gotten to bond with her, whether it's been the Dominican Republic mission trip, her class, or a senior trip, and she has truly made a big difference in our lives. Through godly connections, Mr. Schaefer and Mrs. Tolke have exemplified Christ.
The lessons that each of these sponsors have taught us can be summed up in this African proverb: if you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
just get to be together. Now we just get to be together. Now we just get to be together. And I love you in the morning, in the noontime, in the evening. You're my one thing, you're my dearest. Here's my love note, can you hear it? And I love you in the morning, in the noontime, in the evening. You're my one thing, you're my dearest. Here's my love note, can you hear it? Can you hear it? Do you hear it? I'm above you, I'm beneath you, I'm before you, I'm behind I'm above you, I'm beneath you, I'm before you, I'm behind you. I'm above you, I'm beneath you, I'm before you, I'm behind you. I'm above you, I'm beneath you, I'm before you, I'm behind you. I'm all around you. I'm all around you. I'm all around you. I'm all around you. I'm above you, I'm beneath you, I'm before you, I'm behind you. I'm above you, I'm beneath you, I'm before you, I'm behind you. I'm above you, I'm beneath you, I'm before you, I'm behind you. I'm above you, I'm beneath you, I'm before you, I'm behind you. I'm all around you. I'm all around you. I'm all around you. I'm all around you. And I love you in the morning, in the noontime, in the evening. You're my one thing, you're my dearest. Here's my love note, can you hear it? And I love you in the morning, in the noontime, in the evening. You're my one thing, you're my dearest. Here's my love note, can you hear it?
Our speaker is someone that, although here for just a short time, has made a lasting impact on all of the seniors here. From chasing Nick Frazier at Seniors Revival to chewing up a hot dog for a chapel talk, you never know what to expect with Mr. Banks, but in the best way. He's such a genuine person and just the best listener. I'm so grateful that he agreed to speak for us, and I'm excited to hear the last bit of wisdom he has to share with us. Please welcome Mr. Banks.
All right, good morning. You guys are off to the side of me here, so we're going to try and do both at the same time. We're going to start with a little bit of a timeline progression. We're going to go back to 2018. I think you guys would have been in 8th grade around that time. That was the time that I moved to this area, 2018, and 3 of you sitting here were in my 8th grade class at Tri-Cities. And in anticipation of this event, I asked Mr. Borges, I said, would the screen be down during this ceremony? He said, no, the screen is not going to be down because they're going to be sitting on the stage. So maybe it's fortunate that the screen is up, because I had a chance to go over to Rogers and I found the 8th grade picture that had all the rest of you in it. And I was going to reveal it here just to remind you of those 8th grade memories. So be grateful that perhaps the screen is up and not down, because I was going to pull that one out for you. So 2018, 2019, 2020, that was the year. That was your freshman year, and right around March, stuff happened. And this word kept being thrown around that time. The word was unprecedented, was the word that we heard a lot in 2019 and 2020. And the definition of unprecedented, if you just were to look it up, it says not being done before. Okay, unprecedented. But when you think about it in that sense, I think, how is that different than any day from one day to the next? Because literally what you're doing today is not what you're going to do tomorrow. So is that not unprecedented in that sense? But let's change that term just lightly. So what if we take the un part off and we just look at the term precedent? An earlier event or action regarded as a guide for subsequent similar circumstances. So there had been no precedent that had been set, and you guys had to navigate, particularly the end of your freshman year, in a way that hadn't been done before, at least not in the traditional ways that we were used to. 2020, 2021, that would have been your sophomore year. I was still at Tri-Cities at the time. I'm going to interject a little story here. That was a transition point for me, and I'm going to point out how our journeys here intersected. At the end of the 2019-2020 school year, I got a question from some people, and they said, would you be interested in being the principals? We'd been going through some challenges at our school and some changes, and my initial response was, no, I don't want to do that. I like my classroom. I don't want to be responsible for whatever follows after this, because it was unprecedented. People were still trying to figure out what happens next, what the next things will look like, and the reality was nobody knew. And I thought, do I want to have that responsibility of trying to navigate this in a new setting with a new position? And I didn't want it, and I happily turned it down. But they didn't take no for an answer, because they called me back like a few weeks later, and they said, had your mind changed yet? And this is going to be one of my first points that I leave with you, is sometimes God will tell you to go, but sometimes God will tell you to stay and accept opportunities that come around. I was terrified. I said, I will say yes, but I'm going to be up front. I have not done this before. And they said, that's okay. Nobody else has done this before either. So it made a whole lot of sense in that moment for me to say yes, because we were all trying to deal with the unprecedented. 2021 to 2022. That was actually when I met several of you for the first time. Do any of you remember that? Yeah, I was floating around kind of in between things, and at the beginning of that school year, I was not working at the time, and that was by my choice. And I decided to come over for, what was that, the picnic, I think? The handshake and the picnics. I was there the first day of school on the 2021-2022 school year, and I remember seeing several of you during that time frame and hanging out. At that point, I had no idea that I would actually end up working here this school year, 2022-2023. So now here we stand, and I'm not going to try and put you in your feels, but this will literally be the last time that you sit in this space as a group, as a class. Because here's the thing about unprecedented things. What makes a graduation unprecedented? There's been dozens of graduations right here in this exact same space. There will be graduations next year and years following. So what makes this exact moment unprecedented? And the reality is, it's you guys sitting on this stage. Because all of you in this space at this time will never happen again. I just want you to think about that for a second. Will not. You sitting here in this space as people with all the stories and the histories and all the things that you guys bring here, this moment of time, this intersectionality, once you walk off this stage today, you will not be in this space again. Once you leave the stage tomorrow, you will not be in that space again. It's unprecedented. There's a story from the book of Daniel. And in Daniel, people seem to go there for a lot of prophetic things, but we're going to talk a little bit just about some young people that had maybe an unprecedented experience. Some guys got taken into captivity. They got moved to a new country. They had to learn a bunch of stuff that maybe they weren't used to learning. New language, new customs, new opportunities, but there were also new challenges. I think you guys know the story. The first one from Daniel chapter 1 is they got presented with some things that they weren't used to eating, and they had to make a decision. How do we handle this? And the reality is there's strength in numbers. How many of them said no to that in Daniel chapter 1? There was 4, right? Daniel and his 3 friends. There's a theme that goes along with this. So in Daniel 1, 4 of them said no. And it was a blessing in that sense. They were able to find favor and move on from that. But then when you go to Daniel chapter 3, there's a new challenge. This time it's not a food thing. It's a worship thing. There's a statue that's been set up on a plain, and it says the music will play and bow down and worship it. And if you don't, then there's consequences. In this case, the consequence being the fiery furnace. So for the first challenge, there was 4. In the second challenge, there was 3. The Bible doesn't say where Daniel was in that moment, but his 3 friends, they said, okay, Daniel's not here, let's make our decision. In Daniel 3:17 and 18, one of my favorite verses in Scripture, they said, O king, we will not bow down and worship because we will serve our God, and he will save us. But if not, we still will continue this path. So we went from 4 to 3. And then there's Daniel chapter 6. Story of Daniel in the lion's den. So what's the number now in chapter 6? 1. So we went from 4 to 3 to 1. And the point is, you guys are sitting here as a community. Some of you, this has literally been the only community that you have ever known as far as your schooling, from preschool to next door to now. Some of you came in along the way, so you've had an opportunity to connect with each other and grow and establish all these good connections and have these fond memories and all these great and wonderful things. But the reality is, when you step off that stage tomorrow, you will head in different directions. Some of you will maybe head the same directions, but some of you will maybe go totally opposite directions. And the reality is, at some point in your life, each one of you will have to stand alone on something. And it doesn't have to be a scary thing, but it will be a real thing. When these guys were presented with this challenge, they didn't know that it was going to go from, well, there's the 4 of us, and now there's the 3 of us, to now it's just me. Here's some lessons. I got 3 points for you. Number 1, embrace the communities from which you come from, your families, your histories, your school. One of the last assignments that we did this quarter, they had to do a personal philosophy of life, and it asked for them to share some of their inspirations for morals and other things, and many of them cited parents and friends. So what you're seeing up here on this stage is a representation of what we see out here, things that have shaped these young minds and have gotten them to this point. So embrace that. Second point, understand that you will be tried and tested personally. It won't always be collective. Many times it's easier when it's collective, like, oh, we can do this. Kind of a side note, maybe a little bit of humor in this moment, but as a teacher, sometimes you've had opportunities to do things in class, and students talk and whisper, and they'll kind of collaborate and say, hey, what if we all don't do this? They can't fail us all, can they? And then there's like this united approach to this. And the reality is, well, maybe we can, but there's always this opportunity of there's strength in numbers. They can't take us all down. So there's that reality of that. But what if it's just you by yourself? That's a lot harder pill to swallow if everyone else is, well, maybe we don't want to join in on this. We're going to let you walk that road alone. Then suddenly it's a lot less, possible, a lot less serious, but it's different when it's just you by yourself. So you come from a community, but understand that you will have times when that community may not always be right there to give you the quick answer, to give you the support. So what am I saying? Here's the third point. In those moments where that community maybe is not right around the corner, maybe not a phone call away, call on God, because that is the community that will always be just a prayer away. And in those moments where it's just you, and you're not sure what the decision should be, or should you turn this way, or should you do this thing, or should you go here, or should you make this call, call on God. So yesterday I was in class night listening, and there were some words that were putting down. Said intentional decisions and dream small. That came from Mrs. Irvine here, and the reason I put them here is this idea of dreaming small. I thought that was interesting in the sense that there's always this idea of dream big, but this is where we're going with this. Dream small when it comes to God. Wait, what am I saying? Doesn't that sound kind of paradoxical? God is this huge, immense thing that is able to do above and beyond anything that we can imagine. So what am I saying when I say dream small when it comes to God? This is sort of my final words, my final challenge to you guys. This summer, as you guys are transitioning from high school to post-high school life, the real challenge is, how do you maintain all of these years of what has been put into you, from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade? Yes, the academic piece is good. You're going to go to college, or you're going to start a business, or whatever it is that you will do. Yes, the physical part of it is good. Maybe you'll work out, or maybe you'll go to camp, or maybe you'll do many things, but what about the spiritual part? So here's the challenge. Be intentional the moment you walk out of these doors with how you plan on maintaining and growing your spirituality. There's this acronym that we throw out in school circles, and they talk about SMART goals. Have you guys heard of it before? Some say yes, some say no. I'll refresh your memory if you haven't heard of it. The acronym is SMART, stands for make goals that are specific, measurable, attainable. So those three things. And then the last two, I think, are probably the most important: relevant and time-based. Like, it's really easy to make goals, but if you don't have a time frame in which you would like to see those things happen, it just sort of continually moves. So when it comes to your spiritual life and your growth, take the SMART approach. Specific for you, measurable for you, attainable for you, relevant to you, and lastly, time-based, meaning you can look back and say, I have this time frame and I want to see how I have grown. You think about growth. I don't know if any of you have done this or your parents have done this, but every time I go back to my parents' house, my parents have this beam in our garage, and they charted our heights as we were growing up. And I was like, yeah, when I was 12, I was short, because I was. But when I was 16, I was a lot taller than I was when I was 12. You can go back and you can see where you were and where you have grown to. So that's my challenge to you. And I'm going to leave you with a song and a verse as my last words. Please join in. You guys know this song. I have sung it here consistently, probably every Wednesday that I've led out in chapels. And I want you guys to think of this song as a challenge. So I'm going to invite everyone to just kind of close their eyes and just focus in on the words. You guys know the song. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary, Lord, for you. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. I love you guys.
Mr. Banks, I speak for all of us individually when I say thank you. From those who have known you since 5th grade, and for us who have known you for just 1 year. You have challenged us this morning to fully trust God by embracing the unknowable and turning to him in unknown circumstances. But you had already unspokenly challenged us to do this from the start of this school year. My relationship with the Lord has steadfastly grown, not because of the Bible worksheets you had us fill out for curriculum, but by the example you set and from being authentic. Your relationship with Jesus Christ has never been intimidating, but only inviting. So thank you for your challenge to us of embracing the unknown. The chapters that God has for us of our lives after graduation will all look different, but one thing will be the same. Christ promised to stick with us the whole way through. Thank you.
Will you please bow your heads with me? Dear Lord, thank you for this Sabbath. Thank you for all of our family members that traveled to be here to celebrate us. Thank you for all of our peers, teachers, and parents that have gotten us here today. God, it's a blessing to have an Adventist education. Help us to cherish all of the things that we have learned spiritually and academically as we go our separate ways. Please be with us through this weekend and help us to glorify you, and remember that our identity is not found in our academic or sports accomplishments, but only in you. Amen.